The next session deals with hijacking and ransoming, here with a new breed of security threats for OTT hybrid operators. Please welcome Hans Kwaaitaal from Conax and Divya Gopalan from Al Jazeera.
You want to go? Hi, in case you haven't guessed, I'm Divya. This is Hans. Let me tell you a little bit about Hans Kwaaitaal. Now, he has had more than 20 years experience with the broadcast and telecoms industry, mainly driving service and security solutions, businesses in EMEA and Asia Pacific. These seats are not that comfortable. And today, he's responsible for strategic partner relations, I believe, globally at Conax. Background is in operator and client device relations, and over the last decade, Hans, you've developed extensive knowledge with set-top boxes, client device security, and you've also played a key role in advising operators, content producers, and client device providers. And Hans, I must tell you, is very international. He's Dutch, lived in China, lived in the US, and now based in Oslo. As Steve had said, that I'm with Al Jazeera, and I'm usually dealing with attacks of more the physical kind, risks of more kind of the obvious kind. But as I'm learning more and more from Hans here, these risks are just as dangerous, and if not, can proliferate much, much more quickly. Now, forgive me if I refer to my very low-tech notes here. This is something I'm also new to, and I think there's a lot to talk about with this. So we're going to be talking about OTT. OTT content is becoming much more popular, but it seems that many of our televisions do not get this kind of content directly. So what ends up happening is you have devices like Apple TV, Chromecast dongle, Android OTT boxes, right? At the same time, there doesn't seem to be a strong demand for high security DRM. That's digital right management. Hans, feel free to correct me at any point on these. So there's no high security DRM on these connected devices, or there is an emphasis on it.
Yes.
Why is that? Is it because it is low risk, or there's no issue of piracy, or what is the whole idea behind this? Is it about the fact that these things are not vulnerable to piracy?
Well, the fact is that if you don't have high value content, maybe there's not such a big demand for advanced content protection. If you use your Apple TV box to show YouTube, obviously there's no need for high security protection. Maybe just access control, that the operator wants to decide who can watch, who can have access to this. But for me, it's clear that the main OTT players today, they have much more focus on making their business model work to actually get subscribers that pay or find other sources of revenue. That's where their focus is. They don't have that much focus on making their devices secure. But what I'm afraid of, I see that is a very different type of threat of piracy on the horizon. And this is basically for content delivered over internet to connected devices. Let me have a look at this. Basically, when you want to watch at content delivered to your TV via the internet, there's basically a few different categories of devices. You can go directly to the connected TV with an internet connection. You can use like one of these OTT, as you mentioned, Apple TV boxes or Android boxes. You have a category, the hybrid set-top box, which takes in cable or satellite from broadcast and OTT via internet port. And you have maybe PCs, content delivered over PCs. So let me talk a little bit about these categories. The connected television is basically a TV with a PC built inside. And what we have seen recently is that the manufacturers of the connected TVs, they don't necessarily have so much focus on making these secure. We've seen even cases where hackers manage to take control over these connected TVs. So if you look at and this is maybe because the TV vendor, he's interested to selling his TVs. He doesn't have an incentive to make it secure. Then the second category, the OTT boxes, they are supplied via an operator or in retail. But again, maybe the box is supplied in retail, the manufacturer of that, he has no focus on making these boxes secure. He wants just to push them out of the market. As everybody knows, in the world of PCs, Microsoft issues a lot of security patches. You have firewalls, antivirus software. You don't see this in OTT boxes. And then the category of hybrid set-top boxes. Basically, you have the same issue. Maybe the broadcast part is secure there. I think today the most of the hybrid set-top boxes delivered, they have adequate protection against control word sharing piracy on the broadcast part. But what about OTT? Is the browser use secure? That kind of questions. And then the last category, the PCs. Well, I think most people today realize the security threat the PC have if it's connected to the internet. I think also when somebody wants to do bad, a pirate, he wants to attack a device. Maybe he's more interested in an OTT box than a PC because you have so many different types of PCs, so many different software versions. Well, OTT or hybrid set-top boxes tend to have the same software version everywhere.
So, are you saying that the effects of this could be far worse than what we've seen in traditional type of the way viruses pass through computers? You were mentioning earlier that to me, that it could be far more widespread than what we've seen so far. Can you just explain that whole idea?
I think content security will always be important for non-free-to-air operations. But you can argue if I have an OTT or hybrid box and it's abused for example, large-scale DDoS attacks on a botnet, then a private person, yeah, you say, why would I care? There's many PCs out there who run malware, allowing botnet operations, maybe even from people in the audience, they wouldn't even know. But let me maybe explain what this really is. If you have a botnet and a DDoS attack, a botnet stands for robotic network, where basically you put a small piece of malware in many PCs or boxes and make them work together. So if you want to have then a distributed denial of service attacks, all these devices at the same time start to send requests to a web server or to a computer, and it will go down. So this is a very commonly used technology by hackers these days. But I think there are a number of ugly scenarios, both for the individual subscribers as well for the OTT operators or the hybrid operators. Let me start with some examples that can affect individual people. Maybe you have heard in the PC business it starts to be a problem that hackers take over control of your PC, they scramble your hard disk, and then you can get the key back if you pay a Bitcoin or two. This technology can easily be used also to do the same on hybrid boxes or OTT boxes.
So if it seems like these individuals are being attacked, why should the operators worry about that? Isn't it their responsibility to put in those fixes in place?
Well, yes, there's quite a number of aspects around this. For example, if these boxes is used so the subscriber enters password information or even credit card information, you will in the end come to the operator and say, well, this is done on your device. Why is this possible? But there's also some horror scenarios, I think, for the operator. If somebody takes over all the devices in your network remotely and threats to shut them down just before an important TV event, he can go to the operator and demand money, ransom him. So also, if it becomes known that all the boxes from an operator are used for a large-scale DDoS attack, maybe it doesn't have any revenue consequence, but this will be very bad publicity for the operator. Also think about today, the internet is used for like services like network PVR, catch-up TV. This is services that maybe give additional revenue to the operator or prevent churn. If a hacker can control the set-top boxes, he can stop this service and again, demand ransoming. Also, in the case of hybrid operations, what we've seen is that the subscriber, he has quite high expectation of quality of service of the broadband part. But for the OTT, in general, the subscribers don't have that high expectation. If there's a trouble with Netflix, maybe you will blame your internet provider or Apple TV, but maybe not Netflix. But for the OTT, if a hacker disrupts the service from the OTT part in a hybrid operation, the subscribers for sure will blame the operator. So there's a lot of this kind of scenarios out there. What surprised me that everybody is aware of the threats the PC and the internet has, that the opportunities the hackers have to abuse this. But in the OTT, pay TV industry, this awareness is not there so much. This is one of the message I like to bring here to this Q&A, that I hope that there will be more attention from the industry that the same threats as we have out there on the PC internet world basically also apply for the OTT and pay TV. Today, everybody wants to download new apps on his TV or on his hybrid devices. These apps are an ideal platform for hackers to control the connected TV or the hybrid set-top box. Some people are actually looking at this. I would like to mention a study done by the Center for Information Security Technologies of the Korea University last year. They demonstrated how relatively easy it is to take control of a connected TV. And the connected TVs these days, they have a camera and a microphone used for Facebook applications, and they demonstrated that they can actively, remotely access the camera and the microphone in this TV and monitor individual's home without this person being aware. This is, of course, a very scary scenario.
It is a scary scenario, but from the hacker's point of view, what are they really gaining from it? But before I go to that, let's talk. Yeah, what are the hackers gaining from monitoring it?
Well, of course, you can blackmail, you can ransoming. There's a lot of opportunities to do there that they have there. And there's one more technology aspect I would like to discuss here. You see these days that Android is getting more and more popular. So it's not just in your phone and in your tablet, but many OTT devices running Android. If you have some time left, have a look at a website called www.hackersonlineclub.com. You'll be surprised how many focus there is from the piracy environment to Android-based devices. How many tools there are, how many vulnerabilities there are. Let me give you an example. Recently, this Heartbleed bug was detected, basically allowing direct access to the memory of an Android-based device. And this works exactly the same for a phone or a tablet or an Android-based OTT box. Let me give you some more examples here. Early this year, a Huawei Android OTT box in Malaysia was hacked. They showed that it was so easy to manipulate the apps and to manipulate the set-top box, even by low-skilled people. Now, I think this was not a serious case, but this could very well have been abused by some pirates demanding ransoming, switching off the set-top boxes. Another example in Android related, recently there was this case of a shell shock or bash hack. Bash is the command line editor used in Android, iOS, Linux. If you control the command line editor, you control the whole device. Now, Apple, they came up with a fix of this, but has the supplier of your, maybe unknown supplier of your OTT box that uses Android, does he have a fix? Is he even aware of this? Another example, this Andro-ROT tool. ROT stands for Remote Access Tool. It's developed by pirates to actually remotely control your Android phone, to make your phone send messages without you are aware of it, or taking out the address book or other data. this can be used exactly the same in Android-based OTT or hybrid boxes. So again, there's not this awareness that I would like the industry to have for the vulnerabilities in this. And even maybe you're unknown vendor of an OTT box, but also the big guys. Recently, the Google Chromecast. Chromecast is a small dongle you can put in your TV from Google to display OTT content. At the in July, at the Hackers on Planet Earth conference in New York, a security expert showed that just with a very simple device of $100, he could manipulate all the Google Chrome devices in his Wi-Fi area. So this also the big companies struggle with this. This study of the University of Korea on the connected TVs, they demonstrated this on Samsung TV. So it shows to me that also the big guys in this industry do not have the right focus to secure their connected devices.
Which is really surprising given how vulnerable these devices are. So what advice would you give these big companies? Like what would you say that they had to do first and foremost as more and more people start to get content from the internet, which almost everyone does now?
Before I answer that, let me just explain to you briefly how they actually do this, how they manage this. This shell shock hack I just mentioned. This has been a vulnerability in this bash command line editor since the beginning. It's been there for 20 years. What the hackers do, they have an ongoing effort to try to find vulnerabilities in existing software. And then they have a very nice communication platform between them, these online forums. So the hackers try to exploit this kind of vulnerabilities. Now they're very active in trying to use downloadable apps. When you download an app in a device, it's an ideal way to create a backdoor into the software. But also the OTA, the over-the-air download. If an operator wants to upgrade the software in his box, it's relatively easy. If somebody go to a software engineer in the company designed this box, oh, please add this little spyware when you do the next OTA upgrade and bribe him a little bit. So the hackers like this because these OTT boxes, they're so homogeneous. They're all the same in the whole network. But what you can do, yes, there are a number of ways, number of things I would recommend. First, have control over the software. You will find that your Apple TV box downloads software controlled by Apple. You do not want to have it. You want to have control over the software yourself. You want that the apps that are downloaded, that they are controlled by you, that no third party has access over that. So there are solutions for these problems. What you can do, you can use this what's called sandbox technology or container technology, where you basically have non-secure code running in a secure environment where it cannot affect the rest of the device. So I would recommend also on here, you need to have focus on this. The examples I just mentioned here, this is all available on the internet. It's not like only security companies are aware of this. So have somebody in your organization have focus on this. In almost all companies, somebody in the IT department focuses on IT security. Why not in the OTT department here? And then, of course, you can always come to security experts like Conax, or international or independent security labs. I think our time is almost on. I would like to stop with a quote of a Finnish security company. They call Codenomics. They have quite strong reputation here. They made an interesting paper on smart TV hacking, like the university in Korea. Let me quote them. Antivirus for embedded devices does not work. Home firewalls cannot detect all attacks against tailor-made TV applications. But the fact remains that smart TVs have similar vulnerabilities as desktop PC. The only solution is to test for security, test the software, test the apps, and stay on top of this. Security is an ongoing effort. If it is, you find no vulnerabilities today, maybe next year there can be vulnerabilities.
Okay, thank you very much. Hans Kwaaitaal with Conax, talking about how now the security threats to your traditional forms of entertainment or information is now so much wider. It doesn't matter where you're getting it from. There are threats, whether it's your phone, your TVs, your set-top boxes, or your PCs. And corporations need to start thinking about that, or should have thought about that way back when they started offering that content. Thank you very much for listening. This is Hans Kwaaitaal with Conax. Thank you.